everyone, we are back here at OngkoBiggan. In today's class, we will be doing the second part of our completing sentences with conditionals. So if you have not watched the first part yet, make sure you do watch it before you start this video. You'll be learning more in depth about the different rules of conditionals, as you can see here. So first of all, the first rule that says that when you imagine something that wherever we use the word if, in that case, right after by using the word if, there has to be the past form of the tense. Like if, first of all, you use the if clause in the main half of the sentence, and then if you put the past tense, then what would you do in that case? The meaning is not past. So, example, what would you do if you won £1,000,000? In this case, the first thing that you are trying to find out here is that there is a high probability of this not happening. Only in that case, we would be putting a past tense in our if clause, and then we would be using would with the rest of the past tense formats in our main clause. So, in this case, the if clause says if you won £1,000,000, I did not say you will win or you win or in any other tense. This is because there is a high chance of this actually not happening, right? So, because we do not really expect this to happen, for this reason, we have chosen to put these words into account. Then we say, I don't really want to go to that party, but I probably will go. They'd be upset if I didn't go. So, what did we say here? I don't really want to go to their party. For this half of the sentence, everything else you see here is totally fine. Later on, you say that they'd be upset if I didn't go. So, this part here is actually abiding by our rules here, right? So, they'd be upset. I've said they'd in this case because it actually means they would. So, they would be upset if I didn't go. So, I have used the if clause followed by the past tense format in the if clause because you are trying to say such a sentence where there is a high chance of this actually not happening. If there was or were an election tomorrow, who would you vote for? So, once again, we are trying to say that if there was or were, you can use either of these formats. And I've already mentioned to you in the last class that for where, this is of course something that is very formal. So, in formal situations like this, I will put where in the case of was. Now, I have used where in this case, and then continuing, I said, who would you vote for? So, I said who would in this case because is there any chance of there happening an election tomorrow? Of course not. You cannot just one day tell that tomorrow there will be an election, right? So, for this reason, it has to be very significant whenever you want to put these rules. Then it said that, but you can use if with would when you ask somebody to do something. Like in a formal letter, I've already mentioned that most of the time this case works in informal formats. I would be grateful if you would let me know your decision as soon as possible. So, is there any chance that that person to whom you are providing this letter to will not do this task? No, there's a high chance that this person will listen to you, will give you the chance that you deserve. But we are still using this format. Why? Because politely you are asking something from that person. Let's say you are trying to borrow your friend's book. In that case, if that friend is kind of distant to you, or if you're trying to be very humble and polite in front of that friend, you can actually ask, would you please lend me your book? I will not say, will you lend me your book? This is because you are not trying to be totally formal and say that, will you lend me your book? There is no yes or no answer here. Just give it to me, right? You are trying to say, would you please lend me your book? Trying to ask something or request something. That is when we can use the word would. Then, we do not normally use would in the if part of the sentence, but we can say what? I would be very frightened if somebody pointed a gun at me. I will not say if somebody would point a gun at me. Okay? So, this is another rule that you have to totally consider while writing your answers. I would be very frightened here. In the first half, I have actually used the word would, right? Because I actually means I would. So in the first half or in the main clause, I have put the word would. But with the if part of the clause, I did not put a word would because we generally do not do that. If I did not go to their party, they would be upset. I didn't say they wouldn't be upset. I just said they would be upset. So I did not use I can also say they wouldn't be upset. Both are correct here because this is what? This is the main part of the sentence. But with the if clause, I will not put a would here. I will not say if I would not go there to their party, right? So you can use a would in the main clause or would not in the main clause, but most of the time with the if clause, I do not use would. Then could and might, they are also possible. Like if you took more exercise, you might feel better. So it is possible that you would feel better if you took more exercise, right? So you're trying to say that if you took more exercise, you might feel better. And in that same sentence, you can say, if you took more exercise, you would feel better. So we see that in these particular sentences, you can actually put could and might in these cases as well. Either of these are totally fine. Like another sentence we see, if it stopped raining, we could go out. So in the case of could, you can also put you would be able to go out, right? So what did we learn? That if in a sentence, if with the if clause, there is could and might, we can replace could and might with would. But if there is no could or might in the if clause, then there is a high chance that we will not use the word would in the case of the many verb, right? Then there is another rule with if I knew or I wish I knew. So when you imagine a situation like this, we use if with the past tense, like if I were or if you were, if we didn't, etc. But the meaning is present, not past. So generally, if there is any particular sentence where I use the word were instead of was with I, he, she, it, generally these things mean that the condition that you're trying to say or the sentence that you're trying to say is something that is unlikely to happen. But in this case, what we are trying to say is we will put here whenever the meaning is present and not past. Example, Tom would read more if he had more time. So in this case, you are not trying to say that in the past Tom did not have time or in the future Tom will not have time. In right now, in the present time, Tom is not having a lot of time. And for this reason, you can use if with our entire sentence, right? You can say Tom would read more if he had more time, meaning that right now he does not have that much time. If I did not want to go to the party, I wouldn't go, but I want to go. So this is another case where you're trying to say that if I didn't want to go to that party, then I wouldn't go. But right now, in this case, you can also say, because there are what? There is double negatives, right? This is one negative, this is one negative. This is a case of double negatives. Double negatives together they mean positive. So if I didn't want to go to that party, I wouldn't go is actually meaning that you are going there because you actually are wanting to go to that party. So I hope after understanding, after reading a sentence, you totally get the meaning of it, and that is where you will put the rules as follows. Then, we wouldn't have any money if we didn't work. But the thing is, we do work, right? We are actually working here, right? So, we wouldn't have any money if we didn't work. Here, you are trying to put once again double negatives. So you're trying to say that if we didn't have any money, if we didn't work, in that case, that right now you are having money because you are working, right? So this is once again double negatives, that is totally meaning a positive sentence.